Coming up on American Trucker.
This is kick butt.
I'm going under the hood of the biggest truck manufacturer in North America.
Life is good on American Trucker.
It's a company that's been building rigs for almost 70 years.
How cool is this right now?
Vintage rigs.
When you saw this thing coming down the road, get out of the way.
An old school convoy.
This is so cool.
And I'm gonna watch an entire rig get built in one day.
This is like some sci-fi movie. In reality, it's for big rigs.
Big rigs and truckers. Try to imagine this country without them. Guess what? You can't.
Let's rock and roll.
My name is Rob Mariani, and ever since I was a kid, I have been out of my mind crazy about anything with 18 wheels.
Look at this lineup! This is totally Mac Daddy. Wow! I love the smell of diesel fumes in the morning.
They're cool, but without the truck's simply a machine.
If you ain't turning,
You ain't earning.
you are the stuff of legend!
Together, they help build the roads, the schools, the hospitals, your house. They even delivered everything in your house.
You know what that is? That is called pride.
They stock the stores. They come to the rescue, and when they're working, they never play around. American truckers are the backbone of this country. Don't believe me? Stick around. You will.
When one of your big rigs resides in the Smithsonian Institute, it must be a ride worth respecting. History, innovation, and uncountable miles delivering this country one load at a time. And if you're a trucker, you already know where I'm going. If you're not, welcome to Freightliner. This is a truck manufacturer started by an old school, a guy who just couldn't get the rig that he wanted. Today, it's a company that is the very definition of state-of-the-art. And I'm gonna break this rig and this company right down to the frame rails. But before we can go here, I wanna take you on a little tour of the Freightliners of the past, American Trucker style.
I'm at the American Truck Historical Society Nationals. That means there are going to be copious amounts of all things vintage big rig, which for me, that's game, set, and match. Love it, love it. Look at that chassis on that thing. Wow. I'm on the hunt for some of the oldest Freightliners I can find, and I know this is the place that I'm going to find them.
I'm gonna start this quick history lesson with the oldest rig at the show. Then we'll go a decade at a time from there.
The oldest one that I've seen on the grounds is it's billed as a 49. It may be a little older than that, but it's a rare conventional Freightliner from the early days.
Oh, there it is. This really doesn't look all that aero-friendly.
Well, you got to remember that in the day, speed limits were about 45 mile an hour, so aero didn't really come into the picture at that time.
Okay, this, folks, this is the equivalent of no frills.
This is a working man's rig. Of course, it makes sense, because the whole company was started by a guy who owned his own trucking company called Consolidated Freightways.
Leland James was the man that founded CF. He always was looking for ways to make more money. In '34, CF was using a lot of Fagile trucks. So he had Fagile build these kind of square, ugly, angle iron cabs that were as much aluminum as they could be.
These custom-built cabovers were first known as Freightliners, but the trucks weren't officially labeled as such until 1942 when CF launched the Freightliner Corporation.
CF was always a LTL carrier.
I was just gonna say LTL stuff.
Yep. Yeah, so that...
Less than truckload to you that don't know, look it up.
The news caught on. Soon, the new Freightliner company started building rigs for other trucking companies.
Maybe we can find a better example of some older Freightliners and some of the technology and the evolution that they started putting into them in the cab over kind.
So they knew how to build trucks, but they didn't have much experience selling trucks. But there was a company who did. The 1950s ushered in a partnership with the White Motor Company of Cleveland, Ohio. They had a dealer network already in place in the United States and Canada. And in 1951, the new co-branded white Freightliner took America by storm.
You brought me to a 62 Freightliner. This is kick butt.
With the green marker lights, they were legal until about 65, 67.
This thing was looking styling when it was coming down the road at night. On to the next Freightliner. A 1967 white Freightliner. And I'm noticing it has the single headlights. That's cool. These are long gone, these cab overs.
yes, sir.
Except for guys like you, bless you, for keeping them around and taking them to shows, and we can talk to guys like you now. This 1969 cab over white Freightliner has been my favorite so far, only because it's so original. I mean, it hasn't been touched. These older ones, unrestored, that's the goods for me. It's kind of like, you know, how you get old and you get gray and you get like crow's feet. Leave that. Oops.
The 70s was a huge decade for Freightliner. And here's a rig to prove that cold.
Here is a white Freightliner cab over. Tells me a couple of things. It's mid to late 70s. Twin stacks, which tells me it's probably a 12-cylinder. I think we found ourselves a power liner. There's only one way to find out, though. Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. Behold. When you saw this thing coming down the road, get out of the way.
And just like the auto industry in the early 70s, this was a race for horsepower.
Look at the radiator. One square inches worth.
2,000 square inches wasn't just for kicks. The power plant manufacturers, Cummins, Cat, Detroit Diesel, they were all knee-deep in a game of my engine is bigger than yours.
Kenworth had a 1,400 square inch radiator.
That's huge.
We could not put a 1,400 square inch radiator in the standard truck, so we picked 2,000 as a big number. And
You picked a big one.
yes,
74 and 75, they hit the market.
yes,
Wasn't there that little fuel embargo thing that happened then after 74 and 75?
that's why it ended.
That wasn't the only thing that ended. In 74, the white Freightliner distribution agreement was terminated, and so went the white Freightliner badge. Another huge change in the 70s, deregulation. Length limits went by way of the dodo bird, and cab overs started disappearing. Freightliner, like every other company, started building conventionals once again.
Tall and lean breathers. It's like a Freightliner.
But you could still get a cab over in the early 80s.
The 82 he's running.
From the 90s on, Freightliner began its march to become today's largest manufacturer of heavy-duty trucks in North America, with approximately $30 billion in sales. Oh, I hope you're taking notes on this because there's going to be a test. Coming up, this truck show hits the road.
We're the lead dog here in this old-time truck convoy.
And later, about 1 million square feet of high-tech, big rig madness.
These guys are working like wildfire.
You're watching an all-new episode of American Trucker on Speed. Next, American Trucker goes on tour with Robert Plant. And the Car Show with Adam Carolla is all new Wednesday night at 10 Eastern on Speed.
On an all-new episode of The Car Show. It's man-machine when we take on a computer-controlled Beamer, and Dan Neal gets down and dirty for a change. This thing is insane. Wednesday at 10, only on Speed.
Here's a myth. You get nothing for driving safely. Truth? At Allstate, you get a check in the mail twice a year, every year. You don't have an accident. The Safe Driving Bonus Check. Dollar for dollar. Nobody protects you like Allstate.
The adhesive brand trusted by dads is the same and trusted by pit crews. For over 50 years, Loctite has formulated adhesive products for some of the world's most challenging jobs. Loctite. Trusted performance, proven results.
The American Garage. The temple of the tune-up. The Taj Mahal of overhaul. More of them count on AutoZone parts than ever before. But parts are just part of what we do. Our trusted advice and helping hands approach is everywhere. So, whether it's his place, her place, or the pro's place, parts are just part of what we do.
Get in the zone.
AutoZone.
After we stay 2 times at a hotel, who wants a free night? Free night, free.
You ask for free, we give you free. Right now, when you stay 2 separate times at any of these Choice Hotels, you'll earn 1 night free. Book today at choicehotels.com.
Almost tastes like one of Jack's cereals. Fiber One.
A Jack cereal.
What's for breakfast?
Try the number one.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Half a day's worth of fiber. Fiber One.
In case you haven't been paying attention, I love old rigs. In this case, I'm at the American Truck Historical Society Nationals, and I'm on a mission to track down all things vintage Freightliner. But just about the time I thought my adventure was, sadly, over, I learned 3 things that changed my mood. 1, a bunch of these folks are headed to a big rig museum after this show. 2, I've been invited. And 3, I'm riding in this unbelievable 64 Freightliner cab over.
I'm gonna hit the road in the CKC Freightliner with Michael. For me, I'm just gonna pretend we got our manifest and we're going to pick up a load. Only in this case, we're going to the Schroyer Truck Museum. Yep, got our paperwork. Looks like we're gonna be ball bearings in Michigan. Got a long way to go, short time to get there.
Michael Gully is the owner of this incredible rig. And this thing is pristine. It's like it was slingshot straight out of the 1960s.
This is one of the finest cab overs in America. I love the sound of this thing. I love this engine. I keep hearing it and I'm like, oh my God, I love it.
This rig has been in Michael's family ever since his dad bought it new in 1964.
We've been predominantly a Freightliner fleet ever since the start of these. Our last new models of cab overs we bought were Freightliners in 1987 and 88. And we basically moved away from the cab over. There was a culture change in America that you couldn't get drivers to drive cab overs. Everybody wanted a hood.
Another cool thing about this convoy, I am surrounded by all kinds of wicked vintage big rigs. Kenworths, Internationals. I'm in big rig heaven.
I like the KWs and Peterbilts. I'm with you. My special interest truck is Freightliner. I'm really into their history and their nostalgia.
Sure.
Going through on a 2-lane U.S. highway, and this old truck is just like going back in time.
I'm saying, Daddy-O, I'm saying it.
Speaking of back in time, the gang's made a quick stop at the craziest tribute destination I have seen in a very long time.
I'm gonna tell you something. Riding along in this vintage 64 white Freightliner through the glorious pastures of rural Indiana, and now getting to this unbelievable, wicked, cool Americana tribute gas station. Man, life is good on American Trucker.
Now, this is an example of a collection getting out of hand, but in a very good way.
I decided I would buy a pump or two, and here I am.
How many pumps do you have now?
63.
A pump is 63. This is a labor of love. This is so cool.
Time to get back on the road. And the more I talk to Michael, the more I realize, this guy's not just an old school Freightliner fan. He's a Freightliner fan, period. Including one of the newest Freightliner models, the Cascadia.
Things I really like about it, the cab in particularly is very driver comfortable. They've improved the dash quality. It's got a very strong, easy opening and closing door, airtight. It's aerodynamic.
Do you have a couple of them or what?
We're getting 6 Cascadias that are being built and the 4 Coronados.
There's something about what he just said that has me thinking. But I'm not to put that on hold, because I've just arrived at our destination, the Schroyer Truck Museum in Salina, Ohio.
Well, that was awesome.
And I thought I just came on this trip to ride in this rig. Well, I have to tell you that this place is awesome. An incredible collection. And of course, for me, one stands out.
What's behind the curtain besides the K100? I can see that already.
It's a brand new 1970.
Did you say brand new? Can I please look at it? I'm gonna freak out. This is simply not possible.
Hey, for all you hot rod guys out there, try to imagine finding a 69 Camaro SS in a barn that never even had its engine started once.
No one's gonna believe this. It's like spotting a UFO.
The best news? They're gonna keep it just like this.
And the odometer is at 00000. This right here is trucking history that we're sitting in.
These last 2 days have been a total rush. Now, I just need to find a way to keep my adventure alive.
You got the Freightliner bug bad.
Like I said, I've got some new Cascadias on order, and they're going to be built at my request at the Cleveland, North Carolina plant. You ought to come check that plant out. I hear it's a fabulous plant.
Mike, I'm glad you said that, because that is exactly what I was thinking.
I'll find out what's happening with my man Michael's fleet, his new Freightliner fleet in North Carolina.
Coming up, I head to the Freightliner factory.
And believe it or not, by the end of the day, this will become a Class 8 Freightliner rig.
This is a place you're gonna have to see to believe.
That right there is so wicked. I'm like a kid. My attention span. Help me.
Your homecoming queen is Becca Weiniger.
True beauty. Pass it on from the Foundation for a Better Life.
Dumbest Stuff on Wheels. Premieres August 8 Eastern on Speed.
Tell me about Castrol GTX with Tri-Shield.
First, it attracts particles.
Like a bug lamp.
Right, then it captures them.
Like a mousetrap.
Then it disperses them.
Like a slingshot.
Helps stop deposits.
From building up.
In your engine.
Right.
Castrol GTX with Tri-Shield. It's more than just oil, it's liquid engineering.
Americans, builders of the beautiful, architects of the useful, creators of things born of an independent spirit. And that's as American as, well.
Nature is unique, pure, and also delicious. Like Nature Valley, granola bars made with crunchy oats and pure honey. Nature Valley, 100% natural, 100% delicious.
Nature Valley Sweet and Salty Nut Bars. They're made from whole roasted nuts and dipped in creamy peanut butter, making your craving for a sweet and salty bar irresistible by Nature Valley.
Here's one. There's one. They're everywhere. Cars with hazy, dull, oxidized headlights. Now you can't see at night. Replacing them can take hours and cost hundreds of dollars. Don't do it. Save time, money, and more. Get Fast Bright Lens Restore. The Lens Restore kit that brings your headlights back to showroom new in as little as 30 seconds. Just wipe it on and wipe it off. And watch the haze turn to crystal clear. It's that easy.
It was amazing. It was magic.
The secret is Fast Bright Lens Restore's professional formula that removes the outer layer of oxidation. Then it polishes, seals, and protects. Do it yourself in as little as 30 seconds with Fast Bright Lens Restore for just $20. Call right now and we'll cut the price in half. You get the complete Fast Bright Lens Restore Kit for just $10. But to make this the best deal on TV, we'll double the offer. Just pay separate processing and handling. You'll get 2 complete Fast Bright Lens Restore Kits, an amazing $40 value for only $10. Call or click now.
As far as big rigs are concerned, Freightliner is the big dog. My mission is to show you where Freightliner started and where it is today. My journey started in vintage Freightliner heaven, the American Truck Historical Society's national event.
This is the stuff you don't see riding around the road anymore.
Then I was lucky enough to get into an old school convoy riding with Michael Gully in his awesome 64 cab over Freightliner. That's where I learned he just ordered half a dozen new Freightliners from the factory in North Carolina. So guess where I am?
I am now in Cleveland, North Carolina, at one of 3 American Freightliner plants. Soon, this frame rail is going to go inside of this factory. And believe it or not, by the end of the day, this will become a Class 8 Freightliner rig. We're talking stem to stern, air horns, marker lights, and the whole 9 yards. This is going to be one heck of a day to see this right here. Gully Transportation's new Freightliner.
This 1 million square foot factory is the perfect combination of high-tech wizardry and old-school hand craftsmanship. Now it's time to join the line. And like most things automotive, and I'm not just talking cars, it starts with raw steel.
These guys are working like wildfire. I've seen that every one of these are custom built.
Yep.
As soon as it comes in the door, it's somebody's rig.
That's correct. At this point, it's a frame. All right?
I was calling it a chassis, or it's a pre-chassis, really.
It is. Roughly 8 hours from now, this truck will drive off the line.
8 hours.
Roughly 8 hours.
Driving off the line.
Driving off the line.
Is this a regular over-the-road tractor?
Yeah, this is an over-the-road tractor. It's a Cascadia.
I'm telling you, Mike, I'm on it.
This is a side station. This is where we're hanging all the bracketry off
Fuel
of
tanks, steps, air tanks.
Exactly. Battery box as well.
Steering box gets put in here?
Steering box gets put on right in here.
So all these components now, like you're really starting to flesh out the beast.
Exactly.
How many rigs will you build in a day?
On this line, we're building 42 in an 8-hour shift.
42 American-built Freightliners in an 8-hour shift. Think of what that'll do to contribute to America and our economy.
In this station, we put the front axles under it.
What kind of axles could we see going on a chassis from what to what? I mean, how many pounds?
We build mostly Class 8 trucks in here, so most of these axles are going to be rated between 12,000 and 14,000 pounds.
Standard over the rotors? Like you get like some off-road service?
You get some off-road service that are real heavy duty.
This is basically a chassis ready to rock and roll.
That's a chassis ready to roll.
So far, so good.
That whole thing took 15 minutes. Unreal. Next up, check in with the cab.
So this is where all the cabs start, right here.
The basis of the cab, of course, is a deck sail. While this is being built, on the other part of the building, we're building the two sides and the back as well, together in the framer later on.
That right there is so wicked. I'm like a kid. My attention span. Help me. I'm going to just stand here and behold this. This is awesome. This is like some sci-fi movie. Only really, in reality, it's for big rigs. When they're done, what happens next?
Okay, the robots will complete their assembly process. Once it does that, it goes down our main assembly line where the operators put on the supplemental items like the cab doors, the baggage doors, and the miscellaneous brackets that the cab line will need further down.
Cool. I cannot believe how fast this is all happening. I felt like I just got here, and this cab is ready for the next stage.
I'm the first one riding Swamper in this gully rig, this Cascadia. Progress rolls on, and it rolls on quick around here.
Back on the chassis line. The final stages before the cab can be connected.
This looks like arteries. We're beast, right?
These are our air lines that we actually install after it comes out of the paint booth to all our air tanks to supply the air needed to operate this vehicle.
This is obviously a Freightliner exclusive because most chassis they paint these lines.
Right.
Gotta be efficiency after the fact, right? You have to replace one or?
The owner of this vehicle gets this truck out on the road. He has an issue. Instead of going through and trying to decipher which airline he has the issue with, he knows by color.
We got two things going in. I've seen the engine and the fifth wheel. Two very important components in any big rig.
The heartbeat of the truck is right here. This is where it all comes together.
Now comes the power plant. A 560-horse Detroit diesel. Now, when you folks buy a car, say Ford, for example, you get a Ford under the hood. Well, truckers have a choice. In this case, Cummins or a Detroit diesel. Michael Gully is obviously a Detroit. Of course, Freightliner likes Detroit so much, they actually bought the company. It's starting to look like a rig.
I am excited to find when the cab meets the chassis.
Up next, 1 day to build a big rig?
This is where it all comes together right now. It starts to really become a Freightliner.
I'm watching it, and I still don't believe it can happen.
Don't go away.
This summer, the action sizzles on Speed. With all new episodes of The 10, American Trucker, and Speed's new series, The Car Show. Immerse yourself in NASCAR nostalgia.
Absolutely scared me to death.
Then it's time to hit the road for Season 2 of American Trucker.
Let's rock and roll!
And the RPMs and laughs hit high gear on The Car Show with Adam Carolla.
Speed's new program dedicated to all things automotive.
It only gets hotter this summer on Speed, the Motorsports Authority.
To some, water and dirt turn into mud. To others, an obstacle. But when you're genetically engineered with Jeep 4x4 capability and iconic beauty, it's more like a mud bath at the spa. The 2011 Jeep Compass, the evolution of a legendary bloodline. Well-qualified lessees can get a 2011 Jeep Compass Sport 4x2 for $239 a month.
It's Pep Boys' Sizzling Summer Savings Event with sizzling hot deals all week long. Buy 4 installed Definity or Cooper tires and get up to $75 off instantly. Plus, buy select sets of 4 installed Cooper tires and get up to an additional $75 off. That's up to $150 off select sets of 4 Cooper tires. Pep Boys will beat all service and tire deals guaranteed.
Pep Boys does everything for less. Announcing America's favorite cereal is now Honey Nut Cheerios. Yep, America's favorite. So we're celebrating the honey sweetness, crunchy oats, and hey, don't forget me, Honey Nut Cheerios. Make it your favorite too.
Are you ready to update your flooring? Well, now through August 1st, the Lowe's Floor event is the place to be for all the best prices on your flooring needs. Like in-stock Stainmaster carpet, now starting at only 98 cents per square foot. Or ceramic tile from 88 cents per square foot. And now Winchester Oak Laminate is only 68 cents per square foot. For these and more great values, check out the Lowe's Floor event now through August 1st. Experience Lowe's. Let's build something together.
Grand Am Rolex Sports Car Series. 2 classes, 1 race. See it on Speed. Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific.
My new buddy Michael Gully asked me to watch over the build of one of his new Freightliner Cascadias. Of course I said yes. Not that Freightliner needs any help. I mean, heck, their old tagline used to be the efficient machine. Now it's run smart. Either way, this is a company that's built a rig or two. So I think they got this down.
And they were always, really from their inception, a custom truck manufacturer.
Correct. And even to this day, lightweight components and cab is a hallmark of Freightliner truck brand.
And speaking of cabs, this one's coming along.
In a little over 3 hours, they've completed the sleeper end of this Cascadia. Big piece of the puzzle missing, the dashboard. We're gonna see that next.
Here's where the dash and the firewall meet the cab. This is beginning to close up the cab totally.
So how long does it take now that they've seated it on to the next step? How long is this gonna be here?
Half minutes.
5.5 minutes for the brains of the operation to be operational. That's pretty cool. Here we have the windshield put into the Gully Transport's Cascadia. Things are getting cool around here. Looks to me like it's done, but clearly it's not. What's next?
After the windshield set, you're pretty much 90% done here on cab line. We're getting ready to go to the chassis line.
Basically, we're about 5 hours since the rails came in the door.
Yes.
Obviously, they're putting the fuel tanks on right now.
Absolutely. We utilize a manipulator here to alleviate any stress or work-related incidents that could go on with this.
Suction. It's like suction.
That's right.
How many minutes are we at this station?
9 minutes.
9 minutes.
9 minutes.
9 minutes. Niner. It looks to me like there's going to be a cab coming on here.
Absolutely. The cab is currently in the
above us. Awesome.
It actually tracks with this chassis, and we'll marry the two together.
How cool is this right now? I'm 100% sure that this is the Gully Cascadia rig following since the frame rails. This is where it all comes together right now. It starts to really become a Freightliner. Cab meeting the chassis.
This is really exciting.
This is cool. This is where it starts to get all of its arteries hooked up now. And
absolutely.
Pretty soon, it's going to be a breathing
now
beast.
It becomes a truck.
Yeah, it becomes a truck.
These guys put a lot of time and effort into what they do, take pride in what they do.
I have a profound respect now for Freightliner, I tell you, going through this episode.
We appreciate that.
You're like big rig caretakers in a way.
Earlier today, a few frame rails went in the door on the other side of this factory. And now, unbelievably, it's a big rig.
We've reached the end of the proverbial line here at Freightliner. There's our truck rolling from frame rails on its wheels out the door.
And from this building over to the offline area, each truck will go through an alignment and then a dyno test as part of an extensive quality control check.
Gully Transportation, your chariot awaits.
Nearly 70 years ago, a truck was built because a truck driver wanted something better. Today, I just watched an entire rig get built before my very eyes for a trucker who's been driving Freightliners since he was about 12.
Hey, Michael. I followed your first truck from stem to stern today, brother. I'm talking from the frame rails out the door of the garage with plastic on the seats, man. And this place, I'm very, very, very impressed.
I'll bet you can't drive 3 minutes on the highway without seeing a Freightliner. There are hundreds of thousands of them on the road today bringing you your stuff. Now, you're gonna have to excuse me, please, because there's an American trucker who needs his rig. Coming up,